Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Wednesday. Number 1, all eyes are on Capitol Hill as Robert Mueller prepares to testify.
He'll take questions today from 2 House committees with his longtime aide at his side. Democrats are hoping to have Mueller repeat some of his most damning findings out loud and revive interest in the Russia probe. Number 2, the embattled governor of Puerto Rico.
Local media outlets are reporting that Ricardo Rosselló is resigning today. The governor's office is not commenting on the reports, and this would be an abrupt about-face by Rosselló, who had refused to step aside despite nearly 2 weeks of sometimes violent protests. Leaked offensive private chats between the governor and his inner circle triggered demands for his resignation. On to number 3 now, a major victory for 9/11 first responders.
The Senate overwhelmingly passed a bill that funds their care for decades. This ends an 18-year battle for first responders who got sick while working rescue and recovery at the World Trade Center site. Comedian Jon Stewart pressured lawmakers to act on the legislation along with gravely ill first responders.
Yes, I think we can all agree I'm the real hero. I'm hopeful that today begins the process of being able to heal without the burden of having to advocate.
And right before the Senate vote, this image was snapped of Stewart smiling as Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell walked by. Stewart heavily criticized McConnell during the funding fight. Some of the 9/11 heroes who worked with Stewart died before the bill was passed. The president is expected to sign it. We head to Cape Cod for number 4.
A rare and terrifying tornado struck multiple locations in Cape Cod. Winds gusting up to 110 miles per hour. Look here, ripped the roof off this popular hotel. Tens of thousands of people are without power. And this dramatic video from a sailboat, look at the waves there trying to navigate dangerous waters as the tornado moved in. And finally, number 5, the pricey pair of kicks.
They are known as Nike's Moon shoes, and they just sold at auction for more than $437,000. That's a new world record for the highest amount ever paid for a single pair of sneakers. A Canadian collector is the new owner.
The Moon shoes were created ahead of the 1972 Olympics. Only a dozen pairs were made. A lot of money for some dirty shoes.
But do they moonwalk?
Oh, ho, ho. All
Good
right,
morning, everyone. So the cereals is going to be a steady thing now.
Look, it's morning
Normal.
and I get hungry. I hope you're having a good start to your
need
morning and having your
substance
breakfast.
for today, 'cause
You
it's
need
about to
all
be a
the
big
energy
one.
you can have. Yes, it is going to be a very busy morning. And let's get right to that big story, the highly anticipated testimony of former special counsel Robert Mueller, poised to speak at length for the first time since wrapping up the Russia investigation.
Mueller is appearing back-to-back before 2 House committees eager to grill him on his findings about President Trump. At Mueller's request, one of his closest aides will be sitting next to him at the witness table. Our ABC's Trevor Ault is right there on Capitol Hill. Trevor, we know you got a long day ahead.
Yeah, it really is a busy day, Kenneth. We know that this has been controversial from the beginning of the Mueller investigation. We know that there was insufficient evidence of collusion, but it also did not fully exonerate the president. And today, Robert Mueller is going to be fielding questions about those conclusions and how he reached them in this highly anticipated testimony.
Today, after 2 years of investigating and nearly 500 witnesses interviewed, special counsel Robert Mueller finally taking questions in front of the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees. The special counsel's testimony anxiously awaited by Congress and the American people, though Mueller himself wanting to avoid it from the beginning.
Any testimony from this office would not go beyond our report.
Mueller notoriously tight-lipped, only giving one 10-minute statement at the conclusion of his investigation. Democrats hoping under questioning he'll reveal whether he would have charged President Trump with a crime if it weren't for the Justice Department rule against prosecuting a sitting president. Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff already conceding that's not likely, but he thinks even straightforward testimony will be useful.
For many Americans, just learning what's in the report will be a revelation.
Both parties preparing for the testimony ahead of time with mock hearings. Sources telling ABC News the Democrats are framing their questions for yes or no answers and have been preparing for what one aide called potential Republican antics. Republican Representative Jim Jordan already objecting to a late request from special counsel Mueller to have his longtime aide Aaron Zebley sworn in alongside him. President Trump also weighing in, saying Zebley's appearance should not be allowed, and again calling the investigation a rigged witch hunt.
$40 million, interview 500 people, they got nothing.
President Trump has gone back and forth as to whether or not he'll be watching as Mueller is testifying, and Robert Mueller himself has said he's not really going to reveal anything other than what's already been written. He has said, quote, "The report is my testimony." Janae, Kenneth?
All right, Trevor, we wish you luck on a very busy day there on Capitol Hill. We will all be watching.
And stay with ABC News for live coverage of the Robert Mueller hearings beginning this morning at 8:15. ABC's powerhouse political team will be standing by.
Now to other news, an American-born teenager wrongfully detained by immigration officials for more than 3 weeks has been released.
An attorney for 18-year-old Francisco Galaiza says he was picked up on suspicion of being in the country illegally when he was stopped at a Border Patrol checkpoint in Texas, even though he is a U.S. citizen and was carrying a state ID. So far, no comment from officials.
And there's new evidence this morning of resistance to the crackdown on undocumented migrants across the country.
Some communities are taking a stand against ICE raids. That includes a group of neighbors in Nashville who helped shield an immigrant father. ABC's Steve Osensami reports.
This is the scene playing out in cities across the country. Neighbors taking on ICE agents. In Nashville, they formed this human chain, successfully blocking 2 immigration agents from taking away a father who's lived here for the last 14 years. He was inside the white van with his son.
We would have did it for 1 million other families. We'll do it today. We'll do it tomorrow. This is what America is all about.
Even the sheriff refused a call to the scene, saying in a statement this morning that his office does not in any way participate in ICE raids. In Kansas City, this family was broadcasting live on Facebook as ICE agents moved in to detain the husband. The officers smashed the window.
I told him not to refuse because I didn't want them to shoot him in front of my kids.
In a statement, the government explains that in this case, the man was an immigration fugitive with a prior criminal history that includes misdemeanor offenses, and they say he had illegally re-entered the United States under an assumed name. One thing that's being underlined in this debate over immigration and enforcement is that the number of removal orders under the current administration is still below the number of removal orders under the Obama administration. Steve Osensami, ABC News, Atlanta.
Our thanks to Steve.
More than 3 million people could lose their food stamp benefits under a new proposal by the Trump administration. The Agriculture Department claims the rule would save $2.5 billion a year and end widespread abuse of the program, also known as SNAP, by changing the way states determine eligibility. Democrats say it would take money away from families that need to be fed.
President Trump is suing his home state of New York and the House Ways and Means Committee in an effort to keep his tax returns under wraps. A newly enacted New York state law allows key committee chairs to obtain the state returns. Trump's attorney is calling it presidential harassment and political retribution. But Democrats say they need the returns to search for potential conflicts of interest and corruption.
At least 2 settlements could be announced today between Facebook and government agencies. Those settlements would end disputes between the company and the Federal Trade Commission, as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission. Both agencies have been looking into Facebook's privacy practices. The FTC settlement will reportedly include a $5 billion fine. A fine from the SEC is expected to be around $100 million.
How about some lighter news? No one can seem to solve a meaty mystery in New York City.
Meaty mystery. A man found an uneaten In-N-Out burger sitting on a street in Queens. Look at that. The wrapper all open, ready to be eaten. It's especially odd because the closest In-N-Out restaurant is 1,500 miles from New York City. One Twitter theory suggested it was a movie prop or that it was part of a bunch of burgers flown in for a party.
I think the latter there.
I think
got
you're
that
probably
special
right.
Sauce on there. In-N-Out, so good.
And some lucky New York City rat had a real good meal. Not a person, an actual rat.
Hey, have you ever had a bison burger? Video from Yellowstone Park shows wildlife is wild for a reason.
Here we are talking about bisons. Tourist standing just feet away from a bison when all of a sudden it starts to charge. Head straight toward 2 adults. You see them run out of the way and a 9-year-old girl flipping her in the air. She was treated and released from the park clinic. We're told that girl is okay, and it's believed that the 2 people running away are her parents.
Yeah, people on social media don't like that detail, and they have been having a field day.
Right, because I could not imagine a bison charging toward my child and running the other way.
I would like to think that I would have the power to stop a bison if it were coming from my child, because
you would think so?
As a parent, you would think that. I also would think that I wouldn't be petting a bison or messing with a
or
wild
nearby.
animal.
able to be in that situation. So that's our question of the day. How do you feel about these animal interactions? Last week, it was a man near a bear, and Mama Bear was like, you know, not by my cubbies.
Should people be getting this close to these animals?
Or should they remember that they're wild animals?
Yeah, tell us what you think in the comments section, or tweet us at ABC News Live. Let us know.
Coming up, we have a new world record.
We'll tell you what this one's all about after this.
Welcome back. A new prime minister is taking power today in Britain. Conservative Boris Johnson is a former journalist and the former mayor of London. He's taking power and is already facing a daunting challenge.
Let's go across the pond now to ABC's Julia McFarlane in London with details. Good morning, Julia.
Morning, Janae. Morning, Kenneth. Yes, that's right. This morning, Britain is preparing to welcome a new prime minister. But there's no big show, no big ceremony or inauguration. It is classic British understatement. First, the incumbent Prime Minister Theresa May will offer her resignation to the Queen. And then shortly after, newcomer Boris Johnson will then head to Buckingham Palace, where the Queen will anoint him and will ask him to form a government in her name.
And therefore, I give notice that Boris Johnson is elected.
A date in history for the United Kingdom. The new Prime Minister will move into Downing Street to lead the country through Brexit, the nation's biggest challenge since World War II. Boris Johnson on Tuesday overwhelmingly voted in by members of the Conservative Party.
E for energise.
This change in leadership coming in the middle of a parliamentary session. But he is not PM just yet. Theresa May will deliver her final Prime Minister's questions before heading to the palace to quit, where soon after Boris Johnson will follow to meet the Queen, and she will ask him to form a new government as Prime Minister.
And I know that there will be people around the place who will question the wisdom of your decision.
But he faces a hostile reception from some members of his own party, several ministers quitting their jobs before he's even taken office. Thousands of miles away across the pond, some warmer words for him from President Trump.
Good man, he's tough and he's smart. They're saying Britain Trump.
Well, first thing on Boris's in tray is to appoint his new cabinet. First, he will sack the members of the old guard that he doesn't want to keep, and then he will move to number 10 and appoint his ministers one by one. All the talk this morning indicates that we can expect a cabinet full of diverse credentials, with more women of colour, more women and people of colour serving. Guys?
Julia, let me remember what you said off the top there. So no big show. So was that shade at our inaugurations here in the United States?
That sounds like.
That's so unlike me to deliver shade, guys. I can't imagine why you would think that. No, but it is true, because don't we Brits have a big penchant for pomp and circumstance?
Right.
As you guys see all the time, this is not like this. This is a constitutional requirement that it's done this way because, of course, the Queen is our head of state. Now, when there is a change in sovereign, that's a whole new shebang, and that's hopefully won't happen for quite many years to come.
You guys have a baby over there, and there's like trumpets, and they come out with the scrolls, and they're like, look, we had a baby.
A coronation of the sovereign is kind of our equivalent to an inauguration.
Oh, there you go.
And Julia, I don't think you can see it, but when you watch this back, you're going to see he's looking at his notes as if he has written down what you said. Very shady from KMO over here.
Yes, well.
We appreciate you joining us.
My influence knows no bounds, guys.
Thank you, Julia. We appreciate it. All right, so let's check our notifications now, starting with a failure of the honor system in Florida, where a store lost $800 worth of honey after asking customers to drop their payment in a box. They had that big display at Struthers Honey set up in Polk County, Florida.
Honor system.
And they said, hey, put the money here. Well,
God's watching you.
People went in there, took jugs of honey. They put up a surveillance system. They've gotten some images now. They're looking for
$800.
Sticky
thieves.
Sticky thieves.
Sticky hands.
With the wait, what's that saying for those who steal about the thing?
Don't do it. Sticky fingers.
No, it's like another
5-finger discount.
That's it. So they got sticky 5-finger discount.
Yeah, you're mixing the two, but.
Right, those are thieves and the sticky.
Yeah, sticky fingers. A couple weeks ago, we showed you a cake that was supposed to be Moana themed, but was mistakenly marijuana themed. All right, so this is another cake mistake for you.
Cake mistake.
A mom who calls her daughter Lizard wants a birthday cake that says happy birthday, lizard.
That doesn't say that.
It says happy birthday, loser.
Loser?
You might want to start making sure you spell those out and have the store repeat it back.
She looks so sad. She's like, I'm not a loser.
Yeah, they got it fixed.
You're definitely not a loser, little one. And we have a new world record. A new world record, everyone. A Welsh woman nicknamed the Bass Queen hit the lowest note. Listen to her.
All right.
Okay, Janae, how low can you go? I mean, I know you can go pretty low typically, but with your voice, how low can you go? All right, so, and we have another.
You go low, I go lower.
That's true. And we have another new world record. A man wrapped his wife in plastic in under 2 minutes. He's so inspiring. We tried it on our interns, Sophia and Isabella. Gave a hand there. And then I almost got suffocated by.
You see how surprised you were?
That's an act of violence against me right there on TV.
Yeah, and look, I was going to town. I meant business.
I couldn't breathe. That's what happens.
I really did go
on
for
World
your
News
face.
Now. So tune into World News Now on those early morning hours because we have a lot of fun.
We sure do.
And in Colorado, a bear walks up to a marijuana dispensary. What could go wrong?
Sounds about right, right?
He's looking for some munchies.
So this happened in Lyons, a little north of Boulder. The bear broke through a fence at the Bud Depot, quite a name, started sniffing around for a snack. He's looking in the dumpster, tried to get in to get some food, but the bear-resistant container did its job. So there he goes. He figures he'll take it with him. Food to go. He couldn't get into it, though. He stayed in the area for about an hour, but that container held tight. All this hype online about storming Area 51, you know they can't stop us all. Now, the day after, there are plans to storm Loch Ness.
To find that Loch Ness.
Yeah, Nessie.
You may not like what you find.
Yeah, I'll take the aliens over Nessie any day.
There you go. Well, coming up, how Hollywood is shooting sex scenes in the Me Too era.
We'll hear from a specialist hired to keep actors safe after this.
Here's what to watch out for today. Former special counsel Robert Mueller testifies before Congress about his investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and possible obstruction of justice by President Trump. Our full coverage begins at 8:15 Eastern right here on ABC News Live.
And President Trump will travel to Wheeling, West Virginia for a campaign event tonight, but he said he may see a little bit of the Mueller hearing. Meanwhile, Democrat presidential hopefuls, including Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, will make their case to voters at the NAACP Candidate Forum. And SpaceX will pay tribute to the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing mission and the launch of their Dragon cargo spacecraft, which will bear the Apollo logo on its way to the International Space Station.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the briefing room for a breakdown of the Robert Mueller's testimony and the latest headlines in politics. While as TV shows and movies push the boundaries of sex on screen, a new movement has begun off-screen, thanks in part to the Me Too movement.
This is Hollywood's way to make sure the actors bearing all feel protected. Here's ABC's Juju Chang.
What if I told you that I wanted you to me right here, right now?
Almost nothing is off limits in HBO's latest boundary-pushing show, Euphoria.
Feel the morning on my face.
The gritty teen drama stars Zendaya and a web of young actors portraying drug use and hardcore sex among high schoolers.
Stop! Stop!
As dramas become edgier, there's a need for a new kind of safety net, one that allows actors to feel safe on set and legally define how much skin they show and how much sex they engage in on screen.
It's amazing how much better the product is when the actors know they're going to work and are not going to be sexually assaulted that day.
They're called intimacy coordinators, someone whose job it is to oversee and even choreograph sex scenes, pre-planning every embrace, every touch.
And how is being an intimacy coordinator like being a stunt coordinator?
We are not actually having sex on set, but we are telling the story of that. There are ways to cheat that. There are ways to also do it safely with hygiene, sexual health, all of that in mind.
Alicia Rodas helped create Intimacy Directors International. A former actor herself, her group literally wrote the handbook for intimacy, on stage and on screen. We met up in Manhattan, where her services are now in high demand, working multiple projects, including season 3 of The Deuce.
Can I try something?
Centered on the porn industry in the 70s. After positive feedback from The Deuce, HBO now requires an intimacy coordinator on all of its scripted shows.
It is good for business. On one hand, it is covering your ass. On the other hand, they realize that they're like, this is not for us, this is for the industry.
And my sense is that what made them think of it now is a hashtag movement known as Me Too Time's Up.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone had any idea how big of an issue it really was.
It's an issue that's long plagued Hollywood, balancing the art of simulating sex with the toll it takes on actors.
I did build this incredible bikini out of these pasties.
Sometimes it's awkward, as Sandra Bullock described her sex scene in A Time to Kill.
I'm not one of those people who's a good exhibitionist.
At other times, it can be overwhelming, as Jennifer Lawrence explained here in a roundtable for The Hollywood Reporter.
I had my first real sex scene. It was just very vulnerable, and you don't know what's too much, and you don't want to do it real. You want everything to be real, but then you're like...
This new age of consent, now extending beyond Hollywood to Broadway and college theaters.
Let's make a circle, and then I'll explain these contraptions as soon as we're all settled here. I'm running a workshop today at Sarah Lawrence. It's a consent and communication workshop. How to approach and have the communication of working on scenes of intimacy.
A new crop of creatives hoping to disrupt the power structure in Hollywood to usher in a new generation of accountability.
What we absolutely need, though, is to see diversity and proper conduct in the workplace is more women, more people of color in the executive suites. That's the only thing that's going to change anything.
For Nightline, I'm Juju Chang in Los Angeles.
Wow, our thanks to Juju there. Just very eye-opening, and obviously there are things that are being put in place there, with including that intimacy coordinator that I think will help actors feel safe there.
Absolutely. Well, that's it from us today, this Wednesday. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.